Margaret Lane, a 72-year-old widow, had lived in the Maplewood Heights neighborhood for over 4 decades. Every morning, she would step out with her loyal Belgian Malinois Ranger for their routine walk. Ranger wasn't just any dog, he was a retired U.S. Army Canine, sharp, strong, and fiercely protective of Margaret. On this particular morning, Ranger padded silently beside Margaret, his ears perked up, always alert. Margaret tugged the leash gently as they turned onto a quieter stretch of the street lined with tall trees and neatly trimmed hedges. She didn't notice the 2 men lurking behind her. Both wore black hoodies pulled low over their faces, their eyes following her every move. One of them, a wiry man named Eddie, nudged his companion Jake. "Now's the time," Eddie muttered. As Margaret passed, the men moved quickly. Eddie grabbed her arm, yanking her back, while Jake reached for her purse. "Hand it over, lady," Eddie growled. Margaret let out a sharp cry, stumbling back. Ranger sprang into action the moment Eddie touched Margaret. His instincts kicked in as he leaped forward, teeth bared, a threatening growl rumbling from his chest. Jake froze. "What the?" Ranger lunged at Eddie, sinking his teeth into the man's arm. Eddie screamed, letting go of Margaret as he tried to shake the dog off. Jake, thinking he could overpower Ranger, lunged at him, but Ranger was faster. He turned and tackled Jake to the ground, pinning him with his powerful paws. The street was eerily empty, but a security camera mounted on a lamppost captured everything. Eddie scrambled to his feet, clutching his arm. "Let's get out of here," he shouted, limping away. Jake, still pinned under Ranger, begged for help. Realizing his partner wouldn't escape, Eddie abandoned him, disappearing around the corner. Margaret, shaken but unharmed, stepped back. She commanded Ranger to retreat. Ranger obeyed instantly, releasing Jake, who groaned and lay still on the pavement. Within minutes, sirens blared in the distance. A neighbor, having seen the scuffle from a window, had called the police. When the officers arrived, they found Jake lying on the ground, trembling and clutching his ribs. One officer, Sergeant Amelia Cross, approached Margaret. "Ma'am, are you all right?" "I'm fine, thanks to Ranger," Margaret replied. Amelia looked at the dog in awe. "That's some dog you've got there." They took Jake into custody and promised to track down Eddie. As they left, Amelia patted Ranger on the head. "Good job, boy." Margaret smiled, though her hands trembled as she gripped Ranger's leash. But what neither Margaret nor Ranger realized was that this wasn't the end of the story. 2 days later, Margaret sat in her modest living room, sipping tea. The events of that morning replayed in her mind. She looked down at Ranger, who lay at her feet, his ears twitching as if on constant alert. "You're my hero, Ranger," she whispered, scratching behind his ears. A knock at the door broke the quiet. Margaret got up and peeked through the window. 2 uniformed officers stood on her porch, along with a tall man in a navy blue suit. Margaret opened the door cautiously. "Mrs. Lane?" the man in the suit asked, extending a hand. "I'm Captain Eric Monroe from the Maplewood Police Department. May we come in?" Margaret nodded, stepping aside. Ranger rose to his feet, standing between Margaret and the visitors, his sharp gaze fixed on the newcomers. "Relax, Ranger," Margaret said softly. The dog settled down but kept a watchful eye. Captain Monroe smiled. "You've got quite the protector there. We're here because of the incident 2 days ago. The street cameras captured everything, and I must say your dog's bravery is remarkable. He saved your life." Margaret gave a small smile. "He's always been my guardian angel." Officer Grace Nolan, one of the officers, stepped forward. "We're here to commend Ranger's actions officially. He's not just a hero to you, Mrs. Lane. He's a hero to this community." Monroe pulled out a small plaque. It read, "To Ranger, the bravest canine of Maplewood Heights, for protecting and serving even in retirement." Tears welled up in Margaret's eyes as she accepted the plaque. "Thank you. This means so much to us." Monroe cleared his throat. "There's more. We were so impressed by Ranger's instincts and training that we'd like to offer him a position in our Canine unit. Dogs like Ranger are invaluable to law enforcement." Margaret froze, her hand tightening around the plaque. "What do you mean?" "We'd like Ranger to come out of retirement and join our team," Monroe explained. "We'll provide him with the best care, and he'll continue to serve the community. We're prepared to compensate you generously for the transfer." Margaret frowned. She looked down at Ranger, who sat by her side, his head tilted as if he understood. "Captain, Ranger isn't just a dog to me. He's my family. After my husband passed, Ranger became my only companion. I'm sorry, but I can't give him up." Grace spoke gently. "Mrs. Lane, we understand, but think of how many lives Ranger could save. He's got a gift." Margaret's voice was firm. "Ranger has done enough for this world. He served in the army for years, and now he deserves peace, not more danger." Monroe nodded, though disappointment flickered in his eyes. "We respect your decision, ma'am. Ranger has already proven he's a hero." The officers left shortly after, leaving Margaret alone with Ranger. She knelt beside him, stroking his thick fur. "They don't understand, Ranger. You've done more than enough. You're staying right here with me." The story of Ranger's bravery made local news after the security footage was released. Calls and letters poured in, many from strangers thanking Ranger for his heroism. One letter stood out. It came from a young girl named Emily. "Dear Ranger, I'm scared of dogs, but after hearing about you, I think you're amazing. Thank you for saving Mrs. Lane. You're a superhero." Margaret read the letter aloud to Ranger, laughing softly as she imagined the little girl writing it. Meanwhile, Eddie, the man who fled, wasn't as lucky as he thought. The police tracked him down using the footage and arrested him at his cousin's apartment. Both Eddie and Jake were charged with attempted robbery and assault. At the trial, Captain Monroe shared how Ranger had protected Margaret. The judge called Ranger a symbol of courage and loyalty. Eddie and Jake were sentenced to several years in prison. Margaret felt a sense of closure as she watched the proceedings on TV. She leaned down and hugged Ranger tightly. "It's over, boy. You made sure of that." And this brings us to the end of the story. Thank you for watching till the end. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, don't hesitate to like the video and share it with your friends too. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell for more fascinating stories. Have a nice day.